WURD and 900 AM WURD, Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
Well, you obviously heard Flavor Flav say, come on, so we do it like this. This is the Radio Courtroom with attorney Michael X. It's a revolutionary program with a revolutionary attorney. Welcome to the revolution. And while the revolution will not be televised, it is on the radio. We call this radioactive radio. In other words, it's not just radio talk, it's also radio activism. And it's not just radio conversation, it's also radio confrontation. Now, because this show focuses on legal issues, and it should because it's called the radio courtroom, it's not exclusively about legal issues, because we also talk about cultural stuff and political stuff and historical stuff and current events. But again, because I'm attorney Michael Cord, I tried to take what I stole from the racist American legal system and bring it to the hood. In other words, it's like a Black Robin Hood kind of thing. So when I talk to you mostly about the law, I'm talking about all types of law. I'm talking about criminal law and civil law. I'm talking about family law and administrative law. I'm talking about estates law and real estate law. I'm talking about tax law and parking law. I'm talking about all types of law. But again, it's not just the law. It's also cultural stuff, political stuff, historical stuff, and current events. And none of that can proceed without you. We need you to listen, but more important, we need you to call. How do you do that? Very simple. The numbers are 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. Toll free, 866-361-0900. Once again, 866-361-0900. And by the way, you can always check us out at WURDradio.com. And many of you know that we're streaming on WURD Facebook Live, WURD YouTube, and WURD Twitch. So there's no excuse for you not reaching out to us. We got folks lined up already. We're going to get to everybody. Germantown Joe is going to be our first call in about 3 minutes. But first, let's do a verbal libation. And the verbal libation is in honor of our Red brothers and sisters. Today is Sunday, November 22. In 4 days, it'll be Thursday, November 26. Many of you call that Thanksgiving, and I'm not going to be a party pooper and say, hey, black folks, you shouldn't get together with your family. Correction. Yes, I am going to be a party pooper and say, no, you should not get together with your family, because COVID is not only alive and well, COVID is bigger and worse. Bigger and worse. I'm going to give you the numbers later. So, you know, people say, well, it's Thanksgiving and, you know, I haven't seen my grandmother in a long time. Well, damn it, if you see your grandmother on Thursday, it might be the last time you see your grandmother. So if you're worried about the inconvenience of not seeing a loved one for one day, imagine the inconvenience of never seeing that loved one again. COVID is no joke. As of this past Thursday, Johns Hopkins University, its epidemiology department, and these are the experts in epidemiology, and it's Johns Hopkins, so you got the best of the best. They said on Thursday, this past Thursday, November 17, 1,707 persons died from COVID. 1,707 persons died of COVID. You know what that means? That means that more than one person a minute is dying of COVID, because there's only 1,440 minutes in a day. So you got 1,440 minutes in a day, and you got 1,707 dead. That's more, at least as of November 17, more than one person a day dying. So it's amazing how selfish and ignorant and foolish and suicidal many people are. You know, I know you want to hang out with your friends. I know you want to go to the clubs. I know you want to see your family on Thanksgiving. But like I said, you can go see them on Thanksgiving, or they can come see you on Thanksgiving, but that's the last time you'll see each other. So please, folks, be smart. So my whole point, and I'm going to just wrap this up in 1 minute so we can get to our callers. My whole point is that I was originally going to say I'm not advising people to see their loved ones on Thanksgiving, because I'm talking about the historical concept of Thanksgiving. I'll get to that in a second. because often I try to tell people how horrific the history of Thanksgiving is and tell them not to celebrate that. But I say, you can get together with your family, but just don't call it Thanksgiving. Call it something else. But this year, 2020, I'm saying, one, don't get together with your family. And two, even if you do it by Zoom, as many people are going to do, don't call it Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is basically the holiday equivalent of Christopher Columbus. If Christopher Columbus were a date, if Christopher Columbus were a holiday, that date, that holiday would be Thanksgiving. And if you're not going to celebrate Christopher Columbus because you're intelligent, you definitely shouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving. But get together with your family safely. And when I say safely, I mean by Zoom, by phone, by teleconference, by whatever. But because of COVID in 2020, don't get together with them physically because you're all going to wind up dead. But let's say we fast forward to 2021. Let's say I'm talking to you in November of 2021, and it's a few days before Thanksgiving. This is what I would say. Hey, you all can come together with your family and loved ones and celebrate, but don't call it Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving is a celebration of genocide. It's literally a celebration of genocide. Give me 1 minute. In fact, give me 2 minutes because I don't want to rush through this, but it's kind of sort of going to be a rush. Let me tell you about the history of Thanksgiving. I'm going to try to condense it in 2 minutes, then we'll get to all our callers. I wrote an article a couple years ago, and I'm just going to spend less than a minute and a half, 2 minutes just reading the pertinent portions of it. Thanksgiving as an American holiday is a celebration of racist genocide. But don't take my word for it. Listen to what WURD, also known by his European name, Frank B. James, but he decided to stop using his European name, Frank B. James, and used his indigenous native name, which is WURD. WURD was the official representative of the Wampanoag Nation. That's one of 500 nations that were on this land. We call it America, but they call it Turtle Island. They had 500 separate nations before the white man came. And one of those nations is the Wampanoag Nation. And this is what WURD wrote in 1970 in response to an invitation from the Massachusetts Department of Commerce for his quote-unquote tribe to participate in the 350th anniversary of the Pilgrim's Landing. Think about this. White folks in Massachusetts whose ancestors stole the country from the red people decided that these white folks who run the government in Massachusetts was going to have in 1970 the 350th anniversary of the Pilgrim's Landing. That's like Jewish folks celebrating the arrival of Hitler. It's that way. It's like black folks in the Congo celebrating the arrival of King Leopold. And I always have to throw in the name King Leopold of Belgium because as bad as Hitler was, and he was a monster, killing 6 million Jewish people, King Leopold from Belgium came to the Congo in Africa and killed 10 to 12 million, twice that. So we got to get our heads right. When we talk about the world's worst monsters and world's worst atrocities, whether they're the world's worst monster or worst atrocity, whatever you want to call it, atrocity, person, it doesn't matter. It's what white people did to black people. Think about that. Because as horrific, and I want to be clear, as horrific as Adolf Hitler is, or was, and as horrific as what he did to our Jewish brothers and sisters, if that's bad, and it is, what's killing, slaughtering, committing genocide against twice that number? Because there's 6 million Jews slaughtered in Germany, 10 to 12 million Congolese slaughtered in Africa. So if Hitler is a monster this size, and he is, and for those who don't see me on streaming, who hear my voice on the radio, I got my hands about maybe a foot apart. If that describes Hitler the monster, then let's make it twice that, 2 feet, 3 feet apart in terms of what King Leopold of Belgium did in the Congo. But having said all that, let me just wrap this up because we got our callers waiting patiently. So you got WURD, who was invited by the Massachusetts government in 1970 to speak at Massachusetts 350th anniversary of the arrival of the Pilgrims. And Wamsutter spoke, but the Massachusetts government cut off his mic and cut off his speech. Why? Because this is what he said. This is a time of celebration for you, celebrating an anniversary of a beginning for the white man in America. It is with a heavy heart that I look back upon what happened to my people. Even before the Pilgrims landed here, it was a common practice for explorers to capture Indians, take them to Europe, and sell them as slaves. People didn't know that, but white men were enslaving black folks and red folks. Let me repeat that. Even before the Pilgrims landed here, it was a common practice for explorers, European explorers, to capture Indians, take them to Europe, and sell them as slaves. The Pilgrims had hardly explored the shores of Cape Cod for 4 days before they robbed the graves of my ancestors and stole their corn and beans. Massasoit, the great Sachem, that's basically leader of the Wampanoag, knew these facts, yet he and his people welcomed and befriended the settlers. If I have a criticism about black people and red people, is that they're too damn nice. And by them being too damn nice, they got slaughtered and got enslaved. They got to fight fire with fire historically when it comes to violent invaders trying to take over your land and your people. But that just wasn't in the nature of black people, and still isn't. That wasn't in the nature of red people, and still isn't. Because think of it. If our red brothers and sisters had left what we now call America, which is really called Turtle Island, if they had left Turtle Island and gone to Europe and taken over Europe in the 14, 15, 1600s, Europeans in Europe would still be fighting against red people who had taken over their land. Same thing in Africa. If the Africans had gone to Europe and captured Europeans and brought them back enslaved in Africa, and this was the 14, 15, 1600s, white people in Africa would still be fighting today. And I don't blame them. What is wrong with black people? What is wrong with red people? We embrace the devil, he slaughters us, and then we want to be like him. We don't forgive, or we should put it this way, we don't forget, but we do forgive. We know what they did to our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers. We don't forget that, but we forgive that. No disrespect to Christianity, because there's some great Christians in American history. There's my favorite, Nat Turner, who was a Christian minister. They called him the prophet. There was the great Dr. King, one of the most courageous men in the world. But I got to tell you, the white man did a good trick on us when he gave us the Bible, the King James Version of the Bible, and told us to turn the other cheek. And we've been turning the other cheek ever since he gave us that Bible. No disrespect, but as we say in the hood, facts is facts. Let me wrap this up because we got to get to the caller. So anyway, we got Wamsutter doing his speech in 1970, and he says one of his great ancestral elders knew about the horrors of the white man, but still embraced them. The action by Massasoit was perhaps our biggest mistake. Think about that. We, the Wampanoag, welcomed you, the white man, with open arms, little knowing that it was the beginning of the end. That before 50 years were to pass, the Wampanoag would no longer be a free people. History gives us facts, and there were atrocities. There were broken promises, and most of these centered around land ownership. Never before had we had to deal with fences and stone walls. Let me just stop there, and I'm going to get to our calls in a second, but for black people in Africa and red people on Turtle Island, America, they didn't know anything about walls and fences. Why? Because they didn't own the land. They understood that they were just tenants on that land, and the landlord was God, nature, whatever you want to call it, Allah, Jehovah, whoever created this stuff. It was that entity's land, and we as humans were just gardeners and tenants on that land. So we can't put a fence or a wall on the landlord's land, on God's land, because we don't own it. But the white man had a different approach. The white man came with the concept of walls and fences and boundaries. And that was foreign to these red people. So he goes on to say, never before had we had to deal with fences and stone walls, but the white man needed to prove his worth by the amount of land he owned. Only 10 years later, when the Puritans came, they treated the Wampanoag with less kindness in converting the souls of the so-called savages. And the Indians who rejected Puritans' Christianity were pressed with stone slabs and hanged. So if you didn't accept the white man's Christianity, the King James biblical version of the white man who invaded your country, they took these giant stones, these giant rocks, and they smashed you between them. Think about that. Who does that to another human being? But that's exactly what they did. They were pressed between stone slabs and hanged. And down through the years, there's record after record of Indian lands taken and reservations set up. Although time has drained our culture and our language is almost extinct, we the Wampanoag still walk the lands of Massachusetts, and our spirit refuses to die. We still have the spirit. We still have the unique culture. We still have the will, and most important of all, the determination to remain as indigenous people. So think about that. Think about the horrors that were done to the red people before you decide to celebrate Thanksgiving. We're going to get everybody in. Don't get me wrong. We got to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Germantown Joe. We're going to talk to everybody waiting patiently. But first, a break. WURD 96.1 FM.
COVID-19 impacted a lot of things this year, including regular vaccination appointments. Vaccines help protect you and everyone around you, especially during flu season. Schedule an appointment with your healthcare provider today to make sure you and your children are vaccinated. Vaccines keep us safe, and they work. Skip the flu this year. Get your vaccination today. Let's stay protected together. For more information, visit health.pa.gov, paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939. Save the date. Friday, December 4th from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. for the 5th annual WURD Empowerment Experience. And this year, the virtual and on-air event will be extra special as we celebrate the career of radio veteran Cody Anderson and discuss the importance of independent black media. For more details about the 2020 WURD Empowerment Experience or to RSVP, visit wordradio.com and stay tuned to WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
It's a revolutionary program with a revolutionary lawyer.
Welcome to the revolution.
Yep, this is the revolution, and I apologize to Germantown Joe because I went on very long, but the ancestors, black and red ancestors, and probably brown too. Let me say them all. The brown ancestors, the red ancestors, and the black ancestors told me to take an extended verbal libation. That's what I did. Having said that, let's talk to Germantown Joe on line 1. How are you today?
Good morning, Brother Michael Cord and Brother Mike Moore. How y'all good brothers doing on this Sunday morning?
We both doing well, and we hope you are too.
Thank you. I'm doing fine. All praise be to Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praises is due forever. I'm doing great, Brother Mike. Thanks for asking, brother. I appreciate
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Hey, Mike, let me say this, brother. You know, Mike, it's funny you talk about the wall. You know, the white man and his thing, his fascination with walls. Because I'm going to talk about my mayor and everything. I'm going to tie that up. But you're funny, Mike, because you got the idiot in the White House want to build a wall. Remember, Mike?
That's a great point.
This white man must have a fascination with walls. And, you know, Mike, when you talk about like you said, the atrocities but let me do Mamiya and Colin Kaepernick first. As you know, Colin Kaepernick's been attacked by the right wing.
Yep.
And because he correctly said that Mamiya should be released from prison, which he should, which we all know Mamiya should. And as I continue to say, if black folks would play our hands right and be strategic and stuff, under Larry Kraft's administration, whether it's his first term or when he runs for re-election next year, whatever it's going to be, is no doubt in my mind, because I know the heart of the man, that Mamiya will be released from prison within the next 4 or 5 years under Larry's administration. I have no doubt about that. I wouldn't say it if I didn't feel it in my heart, Mike. And that being said, Brother Mike, you know, when Brother Kaepernick correctly said that Mamiya should be released, of course, the right wing attacked him. And I'm listening to, I was watching CNN yesterday, and I'm going to get in contact with Sister Pam Africa later. That creep that's on CNN, Michael Spakanis, told a bare-faced lie. He said that Mamiya had no support here in Philadelphia. He got support from around the world in Hollywood, but no support. The people in Philadelphia know the truth, know that he murdered this man. And see how disingenuous this chump is, Mike. He gonna sit there and say that Mamiya's own brother wouldn't support him. First of all, Mike, and that's a lie, because I've heard Wham Cook say many times he's supporting Levis' brother. Number two, he didn't talk about the fact that when Mamiya came on the scene, how Faulkner was breaking the law. He was beating the brother with a flashlight, which is against police violation. He didn't bring that up, and he was talking about the support for cop killers in this country, but you try how evil the white men like him are. Not one time, I said that I had a famous from Maureen Faulkner too, because she's an evil white woman. Not one time do these people show any, and don't you hear me well on this, Brother Mike, they don't show any empathy and sympathy for black men and women and communities that have been gunned down at the hands of these white thugs. I'm going to say it clearly, these white thugs in uniform. They never show no empathy, never sit and say, well, you know, I feel for the black mothers. I might be pro-cop, but at the same time, I feel for these black mothers that have lost their children, their husbands, their daughters. They never say nothing about Tamir Rice, Breonna Taylor. And I give a good example of what I'm talking about, Mike. This creep that heads the FOP, John McNasty, he stated clearly in the interview with the guy from the Daily News, Miss Shadeen, he said clearly that his police officer was justified in killing Wayne Wallace. No bit of sympathy. He didn't have the human decency to say, well, I support my police, but it could have been handled differently. You know, my heart goes out to the Wallace family. None of that. I'm supporting my police no matter what. See, this is what I'm saying. We understand the sick, racist mindset that we're dealing with out here with these people. These people are not amoral, Mike. They immoral, which means they're not immoral. They're amoral, which means they lack morals. No sympathy at all. And like I said, that's why I'm going to get in contact with Pam for this reason why, Mike. I want you in the radio courtroom, let's understand why I'm going to get in contact with Sister Pam. Matter of fact, I was talking to Sister Pam briefly Friday, because she told me about the situation with Colin Kaepernick. We went to Brother Munchie, a beautiful brother who just made transition, went to his homegoing service this past Friday, and I ran into Sister Pam because you got black commentators over there CNN like Van Jones, Don Lemon, people like that. See, them Negroes can't be punkish. They need to get on that TV station and counter what Mascana said. So you can't say you black and you pro-black if you're going to let this white devil sit there and say stuff that's untrue and don't challenge him. That's why when I get in contact with Sister Pam, we're going to try to put some kind of pressure and make Don Lemon and Van Jones and the rest of the sisters and brothers over there take a principled stand and speak favorably of Mamiya. You know what I mean? Let the people over there know. Remember, it's the same station, Mike, if you remember, they got rid of Mark Lamar Hill for speaking the truth about Israel.
Yes, sir.
So we got to put pressure on these niggas to stand up and do the right thing and stuff like that. So that's why I will be contacting Sister Pam later on. But again, Mike, they just out and out lies that these people do. They never show no sympathy and empathy for the many black men and women and children in Tamir Rice's case that have been gunned down by the police. Everything is cop. Now I close with these last couple of comments and I go, Mike. You look at a case like Philando Castile, right? Now the NRA is supposed to be so pro-gun rights, but yet when Philando Castile, who was a dues-paying member of the NRA, they jump in any time to support white men who, when it comes to the guns and the law, but here this brother was gunned down in front of his fiancée and their daughter, and not one word of separately from the racist NRA. That's why I don't know how any black man or woman that got any respect for themselves could support an organization like that. Right? If they racist to the core, they support the idiot that's in the White House right now. I don't know how anybody could support people like that, man. So sorry, and that's really get that out. Say that to you, Mike, and the listeners before I go, Mike, because again, I applaud brother Colin Kaepernick for standing up for our brother Mumia, calling for his immediate release and everything, because it takes courage to do what he did. Because he's gonna get, if he had any chance of playing NFL again, which is slim anyway, but we know he's not gonna be in the NFL now. After that, coming out supporting Mumia, those biggest, they run the NFL, they're not gonna let him get. I don't care if you might have all 20-some quarterbacks go down, and they'll go get a bum off the seat before they get Kaepernick down. You know what I'm saying? Because the mindset, Mike. You know the mindset that you.
Very well said, Joe. We appreciate you calling and always giving us the information, and I understand exactly what you were saying about the statements against Mumia and putting out that misinformation, because folks who don't know the real deal about Mumia, they hear those lies and they think it's true. Somebody needs to challenge them. So I'm so glad you brought that up, Joe.
And Mike, can I say one last thing real quick, Mike?
Very quickly.
Real quick, Mike. These atrocities that happened to us. We know what happened to our dear brother Cato, Cato, when he was killed by this devil to try to get our people to vote. Well, the same thing happened in a little small town in Florida back in 1920, because Nick Palafello had him on as a guest. I think the brother's name was Spanish brother Paul Ortiz, and he said how black people in Cola, Florida, was just trying to peacefully register to vote, and white bigots slaughtered them in cold blood, Mike, just gunned them down in cold blood, and was bragging about it, Mike. They had no shame at all, Mike. This is when we know what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with Black Wall Street. We know what happened in Rosewood, but this is one of the atrocities that many American people in this country don't know about. It's just so many that had, Mike would be on his phone all day, but here's one that I thought you could put in your record keeping book. Okay, Mike, this happened in Cola, Florida, in 1920, when our people was brutally murdered for just trying to register to vote by a white thug mob.
Joe, we appreciate the call and the information. Thank you very much. And before we get to our next person, that is our weekly guest, Dr. Molefi Asante, I'm so glad that Germantown Joe brought up the point he made about Brother Colin Kaepernick. But I got to tell you, Brother Kaepernick really disappointed me when he pretty much talked against the concept of voting. And when I first heard that Colin Kaepernick doesn't vote and was telling people who listen to him, people like me, that he didn't see the point in voting, and I was thoroughly disappointed. However, black folks are not a monolith, so we don't have to agree on everything. So I fully support the efforts of Colin Kaepernick to be our modern-day Muhammad Ali, our modern-day Arthur Ashe. He's the wokest athlete out there. But Colin, why are you telling black people that voting doesn't make any sense? He lost a couple points there. But you'll get them back, because you usually, 99.9% of the time, do the right thing. Speaking of doing the right thing, we are going to hear right now from Dr. Molefi Asante. As you know, every Sunday at about 11:30 a.m., we do something called Asante's African Announcements, where he tells us what we need to know. Dr. Asante, how are you today?
Michael, I am doing very well. Thank you so much. It is really good to be on the show this morning, and always to hear your commentary, because I mean 99.9, I always agree with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what it's about. And we as black men and black women and black people, we need to find out what is it that unites us as opposed to what divides us, especially when we agree on 99.9% of the stuff.
Absolutely, Michael. And I appreciate you for your wisdom and your humility and your just great sense of history and culture. I just wanted to announce that we will have on December the 13th, and people can just put this down on their calendars for right now, December the 13th at 4 o'clock, the MKA Institute will be having a conversation between Dr. Maulana Karenga and Dr. Molefi Asante on many issues, but fundamentally the issue of why it's not an orientation to show people how to do Kwanzaa, But what was the reason for it? What did he see in our community that provoked or evoked the idea that there needed to be such a unifying holiday? And how did he come into his understanding of this? And what is it based on? And those kinds of issues. And I just thought for the historical record, number one, and also for the worldwide global audience that we have through the Maleficete Asante Institute with the promotion of WURD, we wanted to just have this for the record, a conversation about Kwanzaa and culture and the African-American community. This is because there's a lot of people trying to divide us. I mean, right now, I heard that at Cornell University, they're having a big struggle now in the Department of Africana Studies, which, of course, was the Black Studies Department, African American Studies, because the Caribbean people want to have their own department. So there's a it's unfortunate. So part of that, and I said to them, I said, you know what? Sooner or later, even if they got a Caribbean section, then the Jamaicans are going to take out of that, or the Haitians are going to take out of that. So you can't divide us like that. But the only reason they are able to do that, or even to raise that question at Cornell, is because they don't see Africana Studies, or Africology as we call it, they don't see it as a discipline. And when you have a discipline, it doesn't matter whether the people are in Colombia, Brazil, Mobile, Alabama, Lagos, Philadelphia. If they're black people, you can study those people because you're talking about how you study us. Whether we're in Kingston or whether we're in Port-au-Prince, it doesn't make any difference, you see. But when you start dividing and pulling away like that, that's going to be trouble. And I think that I wish them well, but I think that part of the problem sometimes is you get people in, they don't understand the history of black studies. African American students put their lives on the line. Many of them, I think, some people that I went to school with, they're probably still in jail because of the demonstrations taking over presidents' offices and universities in the late 60s. I mean, this is the struggle I lived through. I was a part of that struggle. So I hate to see this, because the brothers and sisters who fought for these programs fought for them to be Pan-African. That was the idea. They didn't fight and say, we're going to only be for African Americans. They fought and said, we're going to study the African world, whether they're in the Caribbean or in South America, or whether they're in North, wherever we're going to study the African world. But now,
let me ask you this, Dr. Sandy, is this split gaining traction at Cornell, or are people dismissing it?
What the group that want to create this Caribbean Studies Department wants to do, they want to get other departments like psychology and sociology to support them, because the bulk of the Africana Studies Department people have said, no, we're not going to go.
Okay.
But, so there is a resistance to it, but they are still apparently pushing it. But we need to be aware of all these things. And I'm aware of it because, I mean, we certainly don't want it to happen at Temple or at Penn or anybody else where this gets some traction. It needs no traction at all. Okay.
Glad to hear that.
All right. So December the 13th, next week, I'll have the ID number, the Zoom number for the conversation between Dr. Karenga and Dr. Asante.
I got to tell you, that's going to be a powerful presentation. It would be powerful if it were you alone. It would be powerful if it was Dr. Karenga alone. But the two of you together, that's an awesome cultural African 1-2 punch. So, folks, please put that on your calendar for Sunday, December 13, 4 p.m., and we will get to you the Zoom ID number, but just put it on your calendar knowing that on Sunday, December 13, 4 p.m. You'll be in for an African treat. Dr. Asante, thank you very much for that announcement.
Thank you very much, Michael.
All right, great information about December 13, and I was going to say great info about what's happening at Cornell. Great in the sense that we have been warned. So at least we're on alert right now. So in that regard, it is great, but it's really disturbing that black folks at a major educational institution are trying to split up blackness by not approaching this black thing from a Pan-African standpoint. That's what it's got to be. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. WURD 96.1 FM.
At PICO, we know one thing is certain. Times have changed. From kitchen classrooms to couch conference calls, searching for a new job, or new ways to keep your family connected. These changes have become a part of our reality. That's why our teams are working 24/7 to meet the needs of our communities. So no matter how much things change, you can depend on PICO to be there with the energy and help you need to power through. Learn more at pico.com.
Tune in Saturdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. to hear Empire Capital and Consulting founder Mark Palmer's show titled Black Money, Black Power. This show centers around black money and how black power is derived from money. Tune in every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Black Money, Black Power, hosted by Mark Palmer.
And while the revolution will not be televised, it is on the radio.
I believe in unions because if you look at the history of this country, things we take for granted, 40-hour work week, minimum wage, overtime, health care benefits.
This is not for the naive, the faint of heart, or the timid.
Yep, my fraternity brother, Johnny Cochran, was right. This show right here, in fact, this station right here, is not for the naive, not for the faint of heart, and not for the timid. And speaking of my fraternity brother, I have to tell you that I'm a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, just as Johnny Cochran is. I don't say was, because once you're a noob, you're always a noob, even after going on the other side. So big shout out to my brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And it's just amazing how that works, because I just happen to have my Kappa sweater on today. Now let me just stand up for a second so folks can see my beautiful Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Many people think that our colors are red and white. Not really. They're actually crimson and cream. So here's the cream, here's the crimson, and here's the K for Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Just had to mention that. Those of you who want to join in today's conversation and be like Germantown Joe and be like Dr. Sante, give us a call at 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. Toll free, 866-361-0900. That's 866-361-0900. Before we get to our next guest and get to our next calls, let me just mention this thing about the fraternities, and not just the fraternities, but the sororities as well. First of all, stop calling yourselves Black Greeks. That's the dumbest thing in the world for a member of a black fraternity or a member of a black sorority to call himself or herself a Black Greek. The Greeks stole this concept from us. We, the Africans, actually did this thing in Kemet, which people know today as Egypt. We did this thing 2,000 years before the Greeks knew anything about it. In fact, we called it wisdom teaching, which basically was a type of rites of passage. And when the Greeks came along, they asked the Egyptians, the people of Kemet, hey, what's this thing you're doing? You got these men and these women, these separate groups, and they're going through this secret stuff, and what is it? And smartly, those people of Egypt, those people of Kemet said, hey, it's a mystery. We're not going to tell you our secrets. We're not going to tell you what we're doing. So what did the Greeks do? They went back and copied the little bit that they saw, and they called it the mystery school. That's what they called it. And then from this Greek mystery school, they stole what they thought they had seen. But they didn't know what they saw with our Egyptian/Kemetic rites of passage, because our Egyptian/Kemetic rites of passage, it included a mental obstacle component. Now, I'm not going to get into what the different fraternities and sororities, what we go through in terms of our secret stuff, to our pledge programs and all that other kind of stuff. But what the Greeks saw, they realized that there was something going on. They couldn't put their hand on it, but they recognized it involved a mental obstacle component. It involved a ritualistic ceremony. It involved secret passwords and secret handshakes. And it also involved a cultural or spiritual type of enlightenment. And so the Greeks tried to copy that. And I got to give them credit. They did a damn good job stealing our stuff, renaming our stuff, and then we black folks go to college in America, pledge these organizations, and then call ourselves Black Greeks. That's like some foreigner coming to your mother and father's house, taking over the house, throwing your mother, your father, and your entire family in the basement, changing the name on the deed, and then you willingly begin to pay rent to the person who stole your parents' house. That's what you're doing when you call yourself a Black Greek. We ain't no damn Black Greeks. We came up with this stuff. So stop calling yourselves Black Greeks. We are the descendants of the people who came up with the rites of passage through the wisdom teaching program. We are those who created the Egyptian/Kemetic mystery school. So the next time I hear a Black person who's a member of a fraternity or sorority call themselves a Black Greek, well, I'm not a violent person, so I'm not going to say I'm going to slap them, but I'll intellectually slap them and say, why are you giving credit to the people who stole your culture? The white fraternity members, the white sorority members, they should call themselves white Africans because they stole it from us. Having said that, let's move on. I just got sidetracked when I heard that lead in out of the commercial and I heard the voice of Johnny Cochran. I remember I had my Kappa sweater on, but the lesson of the day is Black folks, members of these fraternities and sororities, stop calling yourself Greeks. That's the dumbest thing in the world, especially because you're a college graduate, so you should know better. Let's keep things moving. And speaking of knowing better, as you know, from the past, maybe 2 months, we had representatives of the November 3rd Coalition trying to enlighten Black folks about the need to vote. Black folks in Philadelphia. Why? Because the organizers of the November 3rd Coalition knew that Pennsylvania was going to determine who the next president was going to be. And if Black folks and Democrats could carry Philadelphia, then Pennsylvania would carry America. And as we found out about a week or so ago, the November 3rd Coalition was right. Michael Rashid was right. Paula Peoples was right. And certainly Ali Salahuddin was right. Speaking of Brother Ali, we want to hear from him as we do every Sunday at around 11:45. Ali, how are you today?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. You're the co-host of this segment, so I'm turning over the show to you.
You know, y'all do this to me every week, man. Every time, I got everything laid out that I'm going to say and be concise and whatnot, and then you bring something up right before I come on.
Woo!
That I got to comment on.
Take your time.
A good friend of mine was Johnny Sample. And I guess the listening audience remember Johnny when he was on WURD and, his pro football career and all of that.
Yep.
But he and I would always used to joke because he was a Kappa and I'm a Q.
Yes, sir.
So we would always go back and forth, and he would say something like, he would say, yeah, man, I'm a noob. And I would say something like, well, my condolences. Or something.
That's a good one.
We just go back and forth and banner. But we both understood, really how important these fraternities and sororities are in our culture.
Yes.
And obviously I think Johnny went over at Morgan where he went to college, and I went over at Howard, where I went to college. And at the time when I went over, I was heavily involved with the movement also. So the question that was always posed to me was, well, how can you be a revolutionary and also be in a fraternity? And I would say, well, y'all really don't understand the history of the fraternities. And I would tell them exactly what you just said.
Yes.
Because they were looking at it as something else other than they were just looking at it from a standpoint of all y'all do was party and the cute dogs and all of that kind of stuff. But they weren't looking at the big picture. Number one, the history of it, and also the effectiveness of it in the black community. And if you go back and look at a lot of the leaders that came through, over the last 100 or 150 years, you'll know that a whole lot of them were members of black fraternities and black sororities.
Amen.
So,
Amen. Keep talking.
I don't spend a lot of time on that, but, people really need to do their research.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Lee, because I know that I was always an activist in college, and just like you at Howard, I had the same thing at Cheney, and people looking at me like, how you doing this pro-black stuff in student government? I see you pledging and you carrying the brick around, you got your head shaved, you're wearing an army jacket, you're looking all scruffy for 3, 4, 5 weeks during the last segment of the pledge program. By the way, no disrespect to the young boys in any fraternity, but Ali, you know the real deal before the mid-'80s. Before the mid-'80s, it was a serious pledge program. Now, no disrespect to the new cats, but it's a whole different kind of thing.
Yeah, believe me, I know.
I know you know, and you went before me, so I know what you talk about. People call it like Hell Week today. It was Hell Semester, man. What are you talking about? And it's so funny because, and I'm not going to disclose any secrets, neither are you, and I know, because I respect the Qs as much as I do, and the Alphas and Sigmas and everybody, but we all know that those who really went through it get more respect once it's over. That's all I'll say. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, you talk about Hell Week. You know where I was in Hell Week? That was the week that Martin Luther King got killed.
Whoa.
So you can imagine, and I got a bald head with a Q cut in my head,
Woo.
You can imagine what that was like. But I digress.
In fact, what we'll do, Eileen, I'm so glad you brought up, I'm going to contact you after today's show and see if you and I can just set aside maybe in half an hour in an upcoming show to just talk about the history of that stuff so that folks can know the real deal.
But anyway, well, it was just two things I was going to talk about today. I told you last week that the November 3rd Coalition was working on a 10-year plan. And and as I said before, our concentration really is on the younger generation.
Yes, sir.
And I was saying that for the first time in the history of this country, there are more non-white 14-year-olds than there are white 14-year-olds. So that means that 4 years from now, those people will be voting. And so you can already see that not only the demographic shift, you can also see the population shift.
Yes.
Now, we had projected, November 3rd Coalition, we had projected that Joe Biden would win this election, but he would need to win the election by about 11 million votes to overcome all of this nonsense that we figured that Trump was going to present. And we were a little off on that because it looks like he's going to win by about 6 or 7 million.
Okay.
We were right on point when we said that we were projecting that 160 million people would vote.
That's a great point. You're right. You're absolutely right.
And we were pretty much on point. I think they're up to about 155 million right now. So my point is that science and math don't lie.
Love it.
It don't lie. You got to really know the numbers. So, in our effort to start, focusing on the 14-year-old population, I reached out to a friend of mine, and I was telling him, I said, look, I need an affirmation. And for those in the listening audience, an affirmation basically talks about, for lack of a better term, it talks about really what you want to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now you start your radio program every Sunday with what we call a libation. right? And you know, and basically a libation is where you you know, you call out the names of the ancestors because when you call out their names, they live. But it's two parts to that situation. The first part is a libation, which when you start off the meeting. But then also there's something called an affirmation, where you end the meeting. Because you call out the ancestor's name at the beginning, but then at the end you talk about what you're going to do to affirm or continue what your ancestors have started.
Powerful.
Okay, so I reached out to a very, very good friend of mine. You probably know him. His name is Anthony Browder.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, Anthony, right now, as we speak, today, this minute, is conducting an archaeological dig in Luxor, Egypt.
Whew.
And he is the only African American that has conducted a dig this large. And he's been at it now for about 15 years. And every time we take our group to Egypt every year with the kids, his dig is one of the places that we visit. So I reached out for him. I told him what I wanted to do. So he had something in one of his books called From the Browder File.
Yep.
But he said, now I forget when that book was written. I think it was in the 80s. But he said, but look, I've updated it, and I got exactly what you need. And he sent it to me last night. And I sent it to you. I sent you an email earlier today. You probably haven't had a chance to read it. But what I'd like to do is that I'd just like to repeat it now for the listening audience, and then we're going to make it available on our website. But I think that once I finish it, you'll see exactly how timely this is.
In fact, Ali, let's do this because I want folks to know exactly what you're talking about. We're up against the clock on the commercial break. So what I'd like folks to do is while we have this commercial break, and by the way, listen to our advertisers, but while you're listening, get your pen out, get your pad out, because Brother Ali Salahuddin, one of the several founders of the November 3rd Coalition, that's the group that not only fought to make sure black folks went out and voted before and on November 3rd, but that there also be a plan of action afterward. And Brother Ali talked to us last week about this 10-year plan. And by the way, when we talk about what the November 3rd Coalition was trying to do, they made it clear with their 12-point program very quickly. 1, abolish the Electoral College. 2, increase the number of justices on the Supreme Court. 3, make Election Day a holiday. 4, grant statehood to Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. 5, reparations. 6, Medicare for all. 7, allow women to make decisions about their body. 8, forgive all student loans. 9, increase the minimum wage. 10, provide equitable school funding. 11, defund/defang the police. And finally, 12, end mass incarceration. That's what the November 3rd Coalition is all about. Even though it says November 3rd, it never intended and never will stop on that date. You're listening to Brother Ali Salahuddin of the November 3rd Coalition. He's going to give us some important information, but first a commercial break. WURD 96.1 FM.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent Black Media.
Do you have a K-12 student who does not have reliable internet at home? PHL Connected is here to provide eligible students with free high-speed internet to make sure they always stay connected to digital learning. Dial 211 and press 1 to ask questions and get connected today for free. The hotline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so call anytime. That's 211 to get your student PHL connected today.
Jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Livelihood. the new initiative from WURD Radio to connect Philadelphians to resources to help take the next steps in their professional lives. WordWorks.com features career readiness tools, entrepreneurship resources, funding opportunities, and events to expand your livelihood. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey.
Work, 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 work. You send me everywhere.
Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network.
Step by Step Home Care Professionals is one of Philadelphia's fastest growing Black-owned home care employers, and they are hiring. If you are a caring, nurturing, and compassionate person who enjoys helping people in need, Step by Step Home Care Professionals is looking to hire you. Go to sbshome.care to complete an employment application. That's sbshome.care, or call 610-321-3108 for more information and ask for Monet. Step by Step Home Care Professionals is hiring today.
Tune in this Sunday at 4 p.m. for the Halal Industry Show with information on economic justice, hosted by Imam Wali Bilal. You're listening to the Radio Courtroom with attorney Michael Cord, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Black Talk Media.
Yep, this is Black Talk Media. You can check us out millions of ways. Well, maybe not millions, but several. You can do it by listening to us at WURD 96.1 FM. You can do it by listening to us at WURD 900 AM. You can check us out at WURDradio.com. You can check us out on WURD Facebook Live. You can check us out on WURD YouTube, and you can check us out at WURD Twitch. I did say a million. That's about a million. Having said that, let's go back to our co-host. That is Ali Salahuddin of the November 3rd Coalition. Ali, please continue.
Okay, so anyway, I said, so this is an affirmation that we are going to be utilizing as we begin to talk to our youth. It's not just for the youth, it's for everybody. But really, we want to make sure that the youth really understand this, and they, really understand the importance of their position in our community. Mm-hmm. It goes like this. It says, in the beginning, the ancestors knew not. For thousands of years, they studied until they learned all there was to know. Then they taught others. Mm-hmm. Then came the Ma'afa, the African Holocaust. The enslavers and colonizers made it illegal for Africans to read and write. As a result, they forgot all they had learned and taught. After 400 years of forgetting, they forgot that they had forgotten. Now the ones they taught teach us. But that changes today. I will remember for them. I will read for them. I will write for them. I will teach for them. We will make certain that they are never forgotten again. We are the vessels through which our ancestors will live and breathe and do their best work. Ashe.
Whew, Ashe is right.
That's, like I said, that's an affirmation that our young people, that we'll be promoting through our young people, because it really encapsulates what we really should be about. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the things that we can see of what went on in the election and what's going on right now is that the people that we are dealing with are evil, but they're not the smartest people in the world.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So the thing is that one of the things that we have going for us is that I really believe that we can think our way out of this. You know, Elijah Muhammad always said that a man with a pen is more dangerous than a man with a gun.
Yes. Yes.
You know, so the thing is so if you look at what's happening, you know, in society today and look at what our position is, and like I said, once again, the numbers don't lie. So as we see what's going on, we can see that, number one, probably within about 10 years, then the majority of the population is going to be non-white.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the numbers working on our side. And it's only going to get worse for the Caucasians. And see, they understand this. See, when they look at things differently than the way we look at it. What they're looking at is genetic annihilation.
Ooh, that's a powerful phrase. Yes.
That's what they're looking at. See,
yes.
See, and Francis Cress Welsing talks about this all the time.
Yep.
That's what when they look at us, what they see is the end of themselves. Because if you start looking at the things that they oppose, the one thing that they have in common is genetic annihilation. Ooh. So when they oppose abortion,
yes,
right? That's getting rid of people, not adding people.
And Ali,
right?
Before you go on, you make such a great point. I love that phrase from Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, ICE's papers, because when you talk about genetic annihilation, that explains, not that I understand why white folks lynched us, but I understood their racism. They're trying to kill us. But the thing I couldn't understand is, okay, you lynched us, but why are you castrating the men?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to lynch him, why castrate him? But the whole notion of the symbolism behind genetic annihilation explains why you not only lynch, but castrate as well. Please continue, Ali.
There you go. I mean, so the thing is, so they oppose, first of all, their birth rate is the lowest of any people in the world. They produce less babies than anybody. And John Cornyn, the senator from Texas, made that plain about 2 weeks ago when the people were asking, when they were saying, damn, you know, look like Texas may fall to the Democrats. And he said, well, yeah, he said, how are we going to keep up if for every one white baby that's produced, the Latinos are producing 9? I mean,
wow.
You can't get no plainer than that. That's the way he's looking at it.
Yes, yes.
Right? See, we living in like, you know, we like the 100-yard dash people. You know, as opposed to the, you know, to the marathon people.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes, yes.
We got to start looking long range. You know, it's like an investor. When a long range investor makes an investment, he's not looking at what the stock market is doing today. He's projecting about what the stock market is going to be doing in 10 years.
Wow.
You see, because if you're just investing for what's going to be done today, then you'll be a nervous wreck because one day the stock market is down, one day the stock market is up. You know, you got to be a long-distance person. You know, so the thing is that when we look at our community, what we got to be looking at is that where are we going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now? You know, Sony got a 200-year business plan. All right?
I never heard that. I never heard that.
They got a 200-year business plan. So they know that the person, he knows he ain't going to be here to see the plan all the way through, but at least they got a plan, you know, that where they're going to be in 200 years, you know, and it's going to pass down through, you know, the generation. So this is the way we got to be looking at things. So the main thing is, you know, one of the main things we got to really start doing is really getting more educated. They just had a study last week that I heard that in the world, across the world, the United States is 25th in reading, 24th in mathematics, and there was one other element I can't remember, but it's reading, mathematics, and was another one. But there's like 23 or 24 nations ahead of us.
Yes.
And we talking about, you know, we're supposed to be the greatest, and we're supposed to be the leaders of the world and all of that. But we're way behind. Oh, mathematics. We're way behind the world and those kind of things. So that's why I say I think that we can outthink these people, but we got to get our mind in the right position. We can't. We really can't get too emotional about this, because when you get emotional, then you can't really think straight. So we got to find a way to you know. And I know that the situation in society causes us to be emotional. But the thing is that, you know, you got to figure out a way to set the emotions on the side so that you can think straight.
It's like Michael told Sonny, it's not personal, it's business.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's like a woman. You know, woman come running down the street, officer, you know, and she's all emotional and whatnot, and she's calling for the police. The first thing the police going to say, look, hold on a minute, settle down, relax, what's the problem? See, because there's an answer for there's a solution for every problem, but you got to be able to clearly identify what the problem is in order to get to the solution, and emotion is only going to cloud the issue. So the thing is that we got to start talking about, you know, like, especially for Philly, what is it that now that you got, okay, Biden is the president, okay, that's fine, okay, you know, we did well in that. But now what is our plan? You know, who's going to present the plan? You know, like Dr. Asante was just talking about with the Cornell situation. We got to really come together, you know, and have a coherent plan that we want to implement, not just, you know, for next year or, you know, we got to be a long-range plan. And this is what I wanted to just speak on today. And I, you know, just want to, you know, tell the listening audience that look 4 or 5 years down the road, if you can't look any further, but just look 4 or 5 years down the road, and here's what you got coming. You know what I mean? So don't get dismayed by all this stuff that Trump is doing and all this. Don't even worry about that. You know, let's just, you know, get with some people, start talking about, you know, how we can implement a plan, especially here in the city of Philadelphia, you know, from an economic standpoint, you know, from an election standpoint, to really see some of the goals that we really need to achieve in order to make our community a better place for everybody. So that's
very
my story, and I'm
well said, Ali. But before we go, and I'm so glad you took your time to lay this out the way you laid it out, this and other points. What do folks need to do now? They heard what you said. They heard about your affirmation. How do they follow up? Is there a phone number, a website, email? What do people do now?
Well, you know, we have a website, which is November 3rd, that's 3RD, coalition.com. The email address is info@november3rdcoalition.com. Those are the two ways. Well, that's, you know, you can email us or you can just go to our website. Now, you know, as I said, we haven't really been posting that much on the site because we've been working on this 10-year plan that we hope to unveil probably around the first or second week of December. You know, because we're talking to people from around the country. We're getting a lot of good information from around the country, especially from the Atlanta area. I mean, I got to give those brothers and sisters down there, because they ain't joking. I mean, what's her name? Stacey, is it Abrams?
No doubt, that's it.
I mean, she's a beast.
Yes.
I mean, you know.
Yes.
I mean, they're not playing down there. You know. So, but as you know, one of the things about, you know, having friends and contacts and relationships with people from around the country and around the world, really, but especially around the country, is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel, because there's somebody that's doing something, especially in this country, that you can adapt, you know, to your situation here.
Yep.
You know, it's like when I started this program off, and I said, you know, we need an affirmation for 14-year-olds. I could have probably sat down and come up with something, but I just sent an email to somebody that I know who's in that business, and they had it right at the tip of their fingers. You know, so. And it's like that with a lot of things, you know. So we really start taking a look at the things that are happening around the country, see what it is that we can, you know, bring to the front to make our situation better here in Philadelphia. And believe me, there's a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of young people out there that we really need to bring in to the fold, you know, because one of the things I think that plague us is that the older people are afraid to pass the baton.
Yes.
You know, they just want to run the whole race, you know, and just, you know, until they just take them out the office right to the graveyard, you know. So we got to get these young people at the table, you know. And when I say young, I'm not talking about 20s and 30s. I'm talking about 14-year-olds, 18-year-olds. I mean, you know, that's how serious this is. We really got to get down into that age group. So that's one of the things that we're concentrating on. And the last thing I want to say is that with November 3rd Coalition, we're not just about elections. Our motto is that Black lives matter, but so do black votes and black money. Ooh. You know what I mean? So it's not just some, philosophical organization. We're really looking to implement some programs and things like that that are real and that people can see and get involved in. So, Mike, look, thanks for the time, and inshallah, I'll be talking to you next Sunday.
Very well said, but even better than that, Brother Ali, very well done. We appreciate what you did to help, along with other groups, help carry Philadelphia forward, Pennsylvania, and end the reign of the orange fascist in the White House. Brother Ali, thank you very much. Look forward to hearing from you next Sunday. That is Brother Ali Salahuddin of the November 3rd Coalition. Those of you who want to get in, you know how to do it. All you got to do is give us a call. The numbers are 215-634-8065. Once again, 215-634-8065. And calls at 866-361-0900. That's 866-361-0900. If you heard me this past Wednesday and Thursday, and by the way, big shout out to Nick Taliaferro and his producer, Eric Nixon. They had me sitting in as a substitute host for the great Nick Taliaferro on the show called Evening Words, hosted by Pastor Nick Taliaferro. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed doing it for a number of reasons, not the least of which I got a chance to hear from the weekday callers. And they all had powerful information to share, several of them. One of those several included Sister Jamila. And if you know anything about real estate and black folks in Philly, then you know about Sister Jamila. And the point she was making about city council and bills being introduced was so compelling. I said, hey, Jamila, I appreciate you calling into Nick's show, but I'm going to need you to come back and spend some more time with us on my show, The Radio Courtroom. So when we come back from this commercial break, make sure that pen and pad you had for what you heard from Brother Ali Salahuddin, make sure you keep that same pen and that same pad, because not only is Sister Jamila going to tell you about the problems regarding real estate relative to city council, but more important, the solutions. First to break, WURD 96.1 FM.
Pennsylvania's COVID-19 mobile testing unit, KATE, will soon be coming to the area. Anyone who would like to be tested or receive free information and resources can attend a KATE tour stop. All services are first come, first served, and no appointments or insurance are required. Many stops will also provide free flu shots. To learn when KATE will be making a stop near you, please visit KATE, C-A-T-E, mobileunit.com.
Livelihood, the new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real
with the Reverend Al Sharpton. In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight. This program is pre-recorded. No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com.
This is the Radio Courtroom. We got to deal with the law first and foremost.
I'm not guilty. You're the one who's guilty. Lawmakers, the politicians, the Colombian drug lords, all you who lobby against making drugs legal, just like you did with alcohol during the Prohibition. I mean, not one of us in here owns a poppy field. This is big business. This is the American way.
And this right here is even bigger business. It's the African American way. Before the commercial break, I told you to make sure you kept your pens and your pads out, because we're going to get a lesson in real and substantive activism from Sister Jamila. As I pointed out, I had the great fortune of sitting in for my good friend Nick Talafaro on Wednesday and Thursday, and I believe it was on Thursday, Jamila called in and shared some disturbing information about, I guess you can describe it as predatory lending in connection with real estate. Maybe not predatory lending, but let me put it this way: predators involved in real estate here in Philadelphia, and bills being introduced and debated and discussed in City Council. And she spent about maybe 5, 6, possibly 7 minutes talking about it on Nick's show. But I wanted her to spend a little more time telling us what's the problem, and more important than the problem, what's the proposed solution. And in particular, she's going to talk about whatever she wants to talk about, but in particular, I want to hear more about Bill 200544. That's Bill 200544. Without further ado, your good friend and mine, Sister Jamila. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, Brother Cord. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm turning it over to you. Tell us a little bit about this problem. What's this bill? What's the problem? But more important, what's the solution? The microphone is yours.
Okay. Well, Michael, I thank you so much for the opportunity to come on today and talk about real estate. But because I like to keep it real, the last time I was on your show, we were talking about the tent encampment. And I was supposed to come back. I was supposed to meet the attorney and some of the folks at the table, and that never happened. So I just want to say that because, you know, continuity of these issues are important.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when some of those folks are now being given houses in the Strawberry Mansion area, and we're working very diligently over there to make sure everything is in decency and in order. So right now I'm going to put a pin in that because I can call it any time, as I do, to further discuss that. But
before you put a pin in it, just so folks know exactly what you're talking about, just spend about 30 seconds explaining what that issue was and how it seemed to be resolved to other folks' satisfaction. Spend about 30 to 60 seconds talking about that, and then we'll get into this bill.
Right. Well, it's a very strange situation, Michael, in that the tent encampment, one that was on the Parkway, another near Art Museum, and then one at 21st and Ridge, they were negotiating housing, skills, and a reduction of rent for the people who had come on the Parkway. Without going too deep into that, as part of the negotiations, these homes were being proposed to be given to these folks in various sections of, and just for one area in particular, Strawberry Mansion near 29th and Westmont area. That's an area we're all familiar with through up and down up and down 29th Street. It would be right sandwiched between Diamond and Susquehanna. So that's something that we have to pay attention to. We have a lot of need. Black women and children are over 70% of Philadelphia's yearly evictions. So when you talk about homeless people just coming in, some people, and according to the Inquirer, had just come to town and laid down in that tent area for 30 days or less, and they couldn't wait to be given a home. Well, we welcome people from all over the world. We know that. But our parents always taught us charity starts at home. And I just want to say that we need to worry about the black women and children, the families, that we see the indicators. See, if the problem is in one area, one people, let's address the problem. So in that regard, I'm going to put a pin in it, Mike. Let me put a pin in it, okay?
Okay. I'm just glad you brought it up so people know you haven't forgotten about it. I haven't forgotten about it. We'll deal with it later.
We're seeing indications where we're going to have to live with this. I'm talking about in legislation.
Yes.
And here's why I want to encourage us, as Sister Mary Mason always encouraged us, keep your scorecard. Keep abreast of what's going on. So City Council comes on the air here at WURD 900 every week, and I know you all hear a lot of numbers, and you know, you got to follow these things. But, you know, I have been following City Council for many years. I probably have spoken more than any average citizen on most subjects, and I'm going to put it in a book. But in that regard, I want to focus on bill number 200544. Now, this bill was introduced by Councilman Dom and several other councilmen, but I'm going to put him at the forefront of this bill because he's a real estate professional, okay, of many years. And, you know, it's all in the newspaper. He's Mr. Condo, and he's made a lot of money doing that. And he's sitting in city council as a very powerful, influential person. I want to say all that, okay? So here we have this ordinance. Now, this ordinance was to address these things that we all are familiar with. The bandit signs, we will buy your house. We will buy your ugly house. Posted on poles throughout the city, but not in every area. Wouldn't find it in Chestnut Hill, right?
Woo.
You wouldn't find that in Chestnut Hill. You'll find it in lower income areas, black areas where I live. I'm in North Philly. All over the poles. And listen, they must come 4 or 5 in the morning because they screw them in where they're screwed in. They're not just nails or some.
That's a great point, because I see them when I'm going back and forth to Temple. I never see anybody putting them up, but I see them everywhere.
Okay, so now there's a law, the laws on the books, no posting. The fines can be anywhere from $300 to $2,000. And upon doing a little research, someone has estimated that the city could really gain about $6 million based on a number of signs. And it's been going on for over a decade. All right, so we know about the bandit signs that we all see litter in our community, and we know there's laws against it, right? Not being enforced, okay? But also, we all have had, even on our cell phones, people call you up asking you, do you want to sell your home? How did they get your cell number? It's amazing what's going on. In addition, we get mail, pictures of our homes in a mail piece once or twice a week, now more than ever. Do you want to sell your home? Do you want to sell your home? All right, this has been going on for a long time. Now, on Bounce TV, the television network that's owned by African Americans, there's a company that's running an ad about selling your home over and over again. I don't watch a lot of television, but I've been watching something Bounce, okay? And I see this. I said, wow, this is powerful. Just as this law is being put into place supposedly to curtail all of these predatory behaviors, okay? This is what Bill 200544 was supposed to address. Something that we all can agree is a major problem, okay? Ongoing for many years. So we get in city council, and I know this is what they're trying to address because they have people at the table like the CDCs. Well, the CDCs have probably encountered people very upset about people sending this mail to their house, all of these signs all over their neighborhood, the phone calls they're receiving, and all kinds of predatory behavior. But a CDC is not in the average everyday business of doing real estate deals. I can tell you this, Mike. I have encountered wholesalers, and they are very disruptive in the real estate industry. They are folks who are pushing papers. They say, oh, we're not really selling your home. We're just giving you an option, okay? We're going to assign this property. So I don't want to get too heavy into real estate. I want to stay on this bill. So this bill was supposed to address these folks. Now, can we identify wholesalers as being one and the same of the people who put the bandit signs up? You be the judge. I'm going to tell you they are. I have contacted some of them. Some of them are professionally licensed, as I am, as a broker, okay? There's a lot of intermingling of activity in the real estate business. Oh, my goodness, things are changing. And I understand change. Believe me, I can run with the best of them. I've been around for many years in the business, but I had to earn my real estate license. I had to take classes. I had to pass an exam too, because one, to be an agent, and then when I thought I was smart enough to be a broker, I had to take another exam. Verify the number of credits that I had as far as how many deals that I have sold, okay, at that particular time. How many deals have I closed? They want the addresses, etc. Then they had me take another exam, okay? And then I take continuing education courses every time I renew my license, 14 hours of continuing ed. So that's what a broker and a professional licensed by the Pennsylvania Real Estate Commission comes with, okay? All right? But this bill now elevates the same predators that's putting up the bandit signs, the same predators that's sending you mail unsolicited to your house, the same people who are calling you, asking you, do you want to sell your home? They are targeted in the black community. I know that because Bounce TV is a black-owned network. So I know they are targeting me. I'm in this business. I have dealt with the wholesalers. I'm a broker. My broker status allows me to hire agents and be their mentor, if you will, okay? I would not hire most of these folks who I've encountered as wholesalers. They have no expertise. They are pushing a piece of paper around. And what's sad about this, and realtors who are on this air listening to us today, because I invited quite a few, can attest to the fact that they are beyond and above and beyond predatory in this regard. We get a 6% commission as professionals, and that's our limit. Everybody know it. It's negotiable. Let's say that too. But the wholesaler is getting thousands of dollars. You have to call it equity. You have to call it generational wealth because it's above and beyond what we get as a commission. Now, we're motivated to get you extra money for your home based on the commission. Okay? We're going to go about how much money we're going to make because we're all about making money in the real estate business. And listen, let me digress to even say this. I could be a wholesaler. I have the book. If this law passes, I will be a wholesaler too because you're trying to tell me that someone's out here with predatory behavior making more money than the real estate professionals who have to take all these ethics courses, etc. These people could now be out here, which is like the Wild Wild West. I'm going to have to get out there and help clean up some things because I can guarantee you I would not steal people's equity. Because I will still be going by the integrity and the ethics that I've been trained with for 30 years.
For those of you who just tuned in, you're listening to the fiery and knowledgeable voice of Sister Jamila telling us what we need to know about City Council and bills and proposals and legislation regarding what she describes as a predatory approach to real estate in the hood. And if you heard the beginning of this interview, you know that Sister Jamila has all the certification to prove her expertise. Jamila, before you continue with your point, let's play the devil's advocate. Though whoever sponsored this bill, whoever co-sponsored, how are they framing it? They can't be saying what you're saying. How are they presenting it to the public?
That they are protecting them from the predatory behavior that were mentioned. But
I'm glad you said that because that's the language I heard. When I heard, I'm like, okay, this seems to be a good thing.
Right.
Explain it. Break it down.
Okay, because first of all, it gives the wholesaler, again, I'm going to make sure they stay on the predatory list, okay? It gives them a license for just a mere $200. Okay? So, okay, then they have to get insurance, and they have to present a disclosure like a used car salesperson in this regard. With a used car or some equity loans, you get a 3-day right of refusal. Okay? They're giving the wholesaler a disclosure statement that they put in front of the homeowner and say, okay, read this. And then you have a 3-day right of rescission or refusal to go forward with the selling of your home. They don't protect you in any way after the transfer of your property. That's in here too. They limit their liability there. But what they do is they put this bill heavily on the wholesaling when it tells you right here that the manager director will keep a list of the people who say they do not want to be solicited. So here's my point, Mike. The point of this bill should be not soliciting, not harassing, not being predatory towards the homeowner. Instead of being heavy on that, or just following and enforcing the laws already on the books. Okay? They decide to underhandedly, I don't know why they would do this, empower the wholesaler. The very predator who's out there preying on the community. And what's strange about it to me, and I challenge them on this, the committee is the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development, okay? So you telling me you're going to hustle off of, this should maybe be in the Rules Committee, in my opinion, and some lawyer who's listening who could challenge me, because you're talking about legal real estate dealing, okay? That's above some consumer loans. That has a higher area of overcoming when you know there's no turning back once you sign that deed over and you transfer that property, and that's when it can be flipped into the LLCs and the this, that, and the third. Listen, I'm in the real estate business. I'm trying to, with all due respect, protect the community that I know is going to lose generational wealth. The African-American community, I got in the business to come back and help my community. In that regard, I'm shouting out to our community to please, first of all, read the bill, and then challenge me, as some people have already, like they don't understand. But if you are concerned about the signs on the poles that ask you, do you want to buy your house? Do you want to sell your house? If you're concerned about the calls that you receive when you put your name on a do not call list, if you're concerned about the mail that you're receiving daily, inundating you, and then now on Bounce TV, you can't watch that without being inundated with a company calling itself Diamonds, okay? Sparkly diamonds, you know, we like to wag. And so if that's your focus, then focus on that. You cannot, something else was strange. There's very much strange things about this bill. I and one gentleman from Community Legal Services were the only people who testified. That's very strange. Very strange. Even the people were for it. How come they weren't there to say it? I'm waiting for the transcripts to come back, Mike, and please invite me back when the transcripts come out, because then that's what I could tell you who was at the committee hearing. I missed it because I have so many battles to fight. I was at another hearing that morning, November the 10th, when they had the hearing, the committee hearing, where you had more time to discuss these issues. But I wonder who was there. I heard Community Legal Services. They said the community CDCs. They said even the realtors. I'm a realtor. I can't wait till Monday to ask the realtor board, how did you agree to this? When we have a higher standard, the first course we take when we're a member of the realtors is a course on ethics. Well, you don't even give that to the wholesalers. You just give them a license, $200, tell them to go and get insurance. You allow the managing director's office, which all they have on their hands, they're going to be the manager of this process to enforce this? Oh, no. There's no way it should happen. We should stick to the point. We should do everything to stop predatory behavior. All you need to do is send these these wholesalers to the real estate commission to get a license like the rest of us. Not give them entree and a pathway into selling real estate.
So at this point, Jamila, what do you suggest people do and how to do it? Can they call you? Can they email you? How can they get more information in order to help you fight this battle?
Well, Michael, first of all, they can call me, but I would prefer if they would read the bill first.
Excellent.
Okay?
Excellent.
You know, they could go to City Council's website, or, you want to call on Monday and speak with Michael Decker. He's the chief clerk. If you not computer savvy and you still want a copy of the bill, you can call him and ask for a copy of the bill.
In fact, Jamila, repeat that. Repeat the bill number, repeat the gentleman's name, and repeat his phone number.
Okay, it's bill number 200544. And the chief clerk of Philadelphia is Michael Decker. In City Hall, 215-686-3410. And ask for the bill number 200-544. Then read the bill, and then we can break it down little by little so you can see exactly where the bill turns left, where it does not protect the consumer, where it does not protect the homeowner. It skirts the issues that we've been battling for a decade, and it goes right to empowering the wholesaler, the folks who have been doing these predatory things throughout this whole decade.
And Jamila, I'm glad you broke it down like that. We're running out of time, but I'm giving you the final 30 seconds. You can just summarize everything you said in those 30 seconds. If you want to include your phone number, your email address, you can. We have 30 seconds. The microphone is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Sure, you can give me a call to get more information about this bill, 215-235-6517. That's, again, 215-235-6517. And the bill is bill number 200-544. It's regarding wholesalers being able to sell your property. It looks like it's giving a solution and some kind of protection, but I say do not give wholesalers who are predatory by their very nature an opportunity to interact with the homeowner. Your home is very valuable. It's all you have. And once you get out of it or that deed is taken away from you, you got to be clear on what your path is. So, look, please give me a call. I appreciate the time from you, Mike. And I hope that we can expound on this. We have 2 months before it would be actually signed or it would be signed into law before it would go into effect. I think it needs many more safeguards. I have a group of professionals I'm talking with and see if we can back out of this and really make it help our consumers. Thank you so much.
3 things. 1, I appreciate you spending time with us. 2, I appreciate your expertise. And number 3, Jamila, you're the real deal because you give out your phone number. I never give out my phone number. And you're encouraging folks to contact you directly. You are the real deal. You and I will connect. I'll have you back on so that we can watch this and other city council proposals in the future. Jamila, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, that is Sister Jamila. You talk about real estate. You talk about predatory behavior. You talk about protecting black folks. You want to hear from Sister Jamila. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. WURD 96.1 FM.
Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of protecting you and your community from the worst of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
Enterprise Exterminators, located 4943 Wayne Avenue, specializing in lantern flies, termites, bed bugs, fleas, mice, and roaches. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Call now, 215-849-7070.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting fat paycheck except you're working. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our President and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter. You're listening to the Radio Courtroom with attorney Michael Cord, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Black Talk Media.
Yep, this is Black Talk Media. By the way, big shout out to our producer extraordinaire, our engineer extraordinaire, and certainly our DJ extraordinaire, young Michael Moore. I say that because right before commercial break or right after commercial break, he plays some classics that even I forgot about. I can't even remember some of the ones, all the ones he played today, but I know one is must be about 20 years old now. That's by Black Rob. Whoa. And even though I despise Puffy, I got to give Puffy credit. He has a good ear for music. He knows how to steal it. He knows how to jack it. He knows how to exploit it, but he got people that can rhyme. And Black Rob, and certainly Notorious B.I.G., but a big shout out to Mike Moore for playing Whoa by Black Rob. That was about maybe 25, 35 minutes ago. Big shout out. He knows music. Having said that, we're going to wrap things up in the next, 7, 8 minutes. So let me begin the wrap up right now. First of all, thanks to all those who called in today, all those who were guests today, beginning with Dr. Molefe Asante. We heard from Germantown Joe. We heard from Ali Salahuddin. We just heard from Sister Jamila. We appreciate that. But let me just wrap things up, starting with the whole COVID thing, folks. If you think it was bad, and it was in May and June and July and August, it's worse now. It's worse now, and I know you want to go out. I know you want to hang out. I know Thanksgiving is coming up, but if you do some dumb stuff and have your family over for Thanksgiving, then you are dumb. You are not only dumb, you are homicidal because you're going to kill them. You are suicidal because you're going to kill yourself. So you talk about being dumb, being homicidal, and being suicidal. It's all there. I know you want to see your loved ones, but if you really want to see your loved ones, don't you want to see them more than once on Thanksgiving? And if you want to see them more than once, then don't see them this Thanksgiving. Save it for next Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving after that. And beyond that, they got birthdays and holidays and anniversaries and everything you can do beginning, I would guess, probably sometime maybe in February or March when we get a handle on this and we have some vaccines. But right now, it's all about sheltering in place. It's all about social distancing. So social distancing. It's all about mask wearing. It's all about hand sanitizer. And I know I go overboard because I love my life and I love the people around me. So I don't just do the sheltering at home. I not only do the social distancing, I not only do the mask wearing, I also make sure I keep glasses on when I go out. I keep a cap on my head when I go out. I'm wearing gloves when I go out because it's not about being paranoid. It's about being healthy and safe and, most important, being intelligent. Here are the numbers when we talk about COVID. As of today, Sunday, November 22, nationwide, 12.2 million Americans have contracted COVID. 12.2 million. Worse than that, 256,000 dead. That's over 250,000. 256,000 dead nationwide. You might say, well, Mike, this is a big country. It's spread all over the place. Yeah, well, let's go to Pennsylvania. 307,000 have contracted COVID in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's 307,000. And sadly, nearly 10,000 dead. The exact number as of today is 9,862. Almost 10,000 across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You might say, well, Mike, that's a big place. The Commonwealth has 67 counties. Philadelphia is only one of them. You know, it ain't that bad in Philly. Well, yeah, it is that bad. Because nearly 60,000 in the city of Philadelphia alone, nearly 60,000 have contracted COVID. The exact number, 59,081, just right here in Philadelphia. And nearly 2,000 dead. The exact number, right here in Philly alone, I'm talking about in your neighborhood, in West Philly, in North Philly, in South Philly, in Germantown. Nearly 2,000. The exact number is 1,978 in Philadelphia alone. And it gets even worse than that because the Philadelphia Health Department, they categorized viruses and diseases, and they give it either a low risk or a moderate risk or a high risk. Well, the City of Philadelphia Health Department said that, quote, there is a high risk of community transmission in Philadelphia. So that's the real deal, folks. So don't be stupid, don't be homicidal, and don't be suicidal. Call your family and friends on Thanksgiving, Zoom your family and friends on Thanksgiving, or even if you want, drive past them. Drive past the house and wave at them. But don't go inside. Don't kill them. Don't kill yourselves. And don't be stupid. Folks, put this on your calendar. I know today is only November 22, so about 3 weeks from now, a historic date is going to come up in about 3 weeks. That date, write this down, December 15, 2020. December 15, 2020 will be the 10th year anniversary of the grand opening of the President's House / Slave Memorial here in Philadelphia. Let me repeat that. In about 3 weeks, on December 15, 2020, it'll be the 10-year anniversary of the grand opening of, I would argue, one of the most historic, one of the most culturally historic projects and sites in Philadelphia history. That's the Slavery Memorial. That's the President's House. That's at 6th and Market. Attack, ATAC, Avenging the Ancestors Coalition, began the fight in June of 2002 and fought for 8 straight years. And on December 15, 2010, exactly 10 years ago, we beat the federal government by forcing the National Park Service to honor our ancestors. Our enslaved ancestors. George Washington enslaved 9 of 216 there were 216 at his Mount Vernon, Virginia plantation, and then here in Philadelphia, 9 of them. And he held them in brutal bondage right here in Philadelphia, a few blocks from where you live, at America's first White House, beginning in 1790. And when Attack, ATAC, Avenging the Ancestors Coalition, when we found out about it, we literally raised hell in the name of our enslaved ancestors. And we fought from 2002, and on December 15, 2010, at exactly 12 noon, the mayor of the city and county of Philadelphia cut the ribbon for the grand opening of the first, I repeat, the first slavery memorial of its kind on federal property in the history of the United States. Now, even though the mayor at that time was Michael Nutter, can't give him credit for that because he didn't do anything. In fact, he dragged his feet on it. If it wasn't for the person who came before him, Mayor John Street, then we would have never had this. When Attack was first founded, and like I told you, we came together like in June of 2002.
And at the time, I was working for Charles Bowser. And when ATTACK was formed, we had a meeting of community activists in the grand conference room, and I do mean grand conference room at the Bowser Law Center near 16th and Locust, fancy boardroom, chandeliers, all that kind of stuff. We strategized. I was there, Minister Rodney Muhammad, so many other people were there, activists from the community, and we said, hey, we need to form this group. We called ourselves ATTACK, A-T-A-C, Avenging the Ancestors Coalition, and the rest, as they say, is history. And when we first started, we said, hey, we need some, we got the activists, we got the community folks with street cred, but we need some political backup, some political muscle. So we're going to write to every black elected official in Philly. If you're a black elected official from the city in Philly, we wrote to you. If you're a black elected official on the state, meaning a state rep or a state senator, but you have an office in Philly, we reached out to you. If you were in the United States Congress and you had an office here in Philly, we've reached out to you. And I got to tell you, the first person to respond was Mayor John Street. And the letter basically said this: yo, Mike, this is powerful. I didn't know anything about this. I'm going to form the Mayor's Oversight Committee, and I'm going to write a check for over $1 million to support your initiative. Think about that. I mean, I knew of Mayor Street. I didn't know him as a friend. But when we reached out to him and other black elected officials, he was the first to respond, not only approving it, but with a check and an official stamp of approval with the Mayor's Oversight Committee. So I give him credit for making it possible. And also a big shout out to Congressman Shaka Fatai and Congressman Bob Brady, because what did they do? Not only did they kick in money, they actually put it on their congressional radar, where they introduced a bill in support of it. So anyway, in about 3 weeks, December 15 of 2020, it'll be the 10-year anniversary. And because of COVID, we can't do what ATTACK always did after 2002. Every year on December 15, we'd go to 6th and Market and honor the ancestors and do libation and recognize that date. But obviously, we can't do that now due to COVID. So we're going to do it, but it's going to be done virtually. Check out my YouTube channel. It's called the Michael Cord YouTube channel. So go to it right now and make sure you subscribe. Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Cord, C-O-A-R-D. Just go to YouTube and type in Michael Cord. You'll see the Michael Cord YouTube channel, and then you'll be able to check us out on December 15, 2020, and it'll probably be around noon. Depending on, what day of the week that falls on, but it will, trust me, be on December 15, 2020, the 10-year anniversary of the grand opening of the Slavery Memorial / President's House at 6th and Market. For more information, call ATTACK at 215-552-8751, 215-552-8751, or email me at attack@avengingtheancestors.com. That's ATTACK, A-T-A-C, at avengingtheancestors.com. And my final minute, folks, you got to check out the article I wrote in this Sunday's Tribune. It's entitled, Republicans Are the Party of Serial Killers, Traitors, and Racists. And in this article, I give you the facts to prove that Republicans today are the party of serial killers through COVID, traitors, by not transitioning into the new Biden administration and giving them the information and resources they need. And number 3, racist, because they basically are trying to say, hey, black people have no right to vote. So all these black people who voted all across the country, especially in Detroit, where they're basically 80% of the population, especially in Philly, I want to cancel all that out. So yes, the Republicans are the party of serial killers, of traitors, and of racists. More information, check out my article in today's Tribune. Go to phillytrib.com. That's phillytrib.com. Type in Cord and type in traitors. It'll come up. I'm going to end today's show like I end every show. It goes like this: think black and prosecute the murderers of Breonna Taylor. Big shout out to Mike Moore. Have a wonderful day.
In order to fight the powers that be, fight the power.